You might be able to guess from my name that this is my favorite scripture. In the Order of St. Helena, you were allowed to choose the name you were drawn to, but the senior sisters, the life professed, had to go into secret vote and vote whether they would accept your suggestion or not. So part of the vote was that I had to say what nickname I'd go under, because when you say the long name together, Deborah Magdalene, it's a lot of syllables. So they call all the sisters by their nickname, and that's where Mag came from. Everybody called me Mag for the 9 years I lived in the convent. And it goes. It fits, it's me. So what happens in this reading, if you picked up on it, that there's a lot of competition between these people, that first Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb, the stone is rolled away, she doesn't look in. She just assumes somebody stole the body. Now, why would she assume that? The stone is rolled away. She knows that the body is gone. She doesn't even look. She runs back, tells Peter and the beloved disciple, who is never named in the Gospel according to John, and the beloved disciple and Peter race back to the tomb. And who gets there first? The beloved disciple, but we remember Mary Magdalene was there first. She's still there with them. So she comes back with these two guys. She stands back a little bit. First, the beloved disciple gets down. Now, this hole is not very big, or they wouldn't be bending over to peer in, would they? So it's little. So they get down and they peer in. First, the beloved disciple sees the garments of death left in there, and he knows, he believes. We don't know yet what he believes, but he believes. You can assume he knows it's the resurrected Christ that is happening here. But there is nothing to prepare them for this. There is nothing other than Jesus giving hints every other page in the Gospels that this is going to happen. But they didn't know exactly what this was. It would be easier to explain if somebody stole the body. So then, last of the three, Peter, he looks in, he goes in. He's the first one inside the tomb. He sees the two angels, and the angels, do they say anything to him? Not a word. So he just, says, okay, nobody, grave loads, two angels. And he comes out and the guys go. Do we know what they are saying to everybody? I don't think they know a thing of what they're going to say. And Scripture doesn't give them the benefit of the doubt. But Mary, who has stayed, she was the first one there, now she's the last one there. It's her turn. She goes into the tomb. She sees the two angels, and she demands her Lord, where have you put him? Tell me where he is so I can take him away. And then she turns around, and she sees Jesus the gardener. It's very telling, because Jesus is the gardener from the Garden of Eden. He's the original gardener. So she's correct. It is the gardener. But then she tells him, what have you done with my Lord? Tell me where he is so I can find him and bring him back. Nobody's saying resurrection yet, right? And then he calls her name, Mary. Very intimate moment. We are all sheep that are called by name. She's the first sheep called. And in her voice coming out of her Lord Jesus' mouth, she sees Jesus. She turns again. That's the turn of her soul towards God, who's working this amazing happening through Jesus. And she immediately thrusts out her arms and falls at his feet, trying to touch him and worship him. Her beloved is back. And then Jesus does this odd thing. He pushes back, and he says, do not touch me, because I am in the act of ascending to my Father. In other words, in John's Gospel, the lifting up of Jesus Christ on the cross happens in a snap of God time. He dies in another snap. He's buried in another snap. In another snap, he rises up, and he's in the midst of ascending to his Father. So he is not the same person he was before he died and was resurrected. And if that's not clear, pay attention to the text, how she didn't know who it was. She needed some help in understanding, because her belief in his death was so overwhelming. She was there. She was with the other women. And in John's Gospel, the beloved disciple is there, and who else? John. John is there. We don't know anybody else was there other than the women. What they've done after Jesus has died is they've completely lost their faith. They thought, what did we think was going to happen? Oh, woe is me, it's over. They believed that anybody who had died on a crucifix must be bad, or they wouldn't have died on the crucifix. That's kind of going backwards with logic, but that's what they believed. If God had been with him, God would have saved him. So he can't be the Messiah. And the disciples were part of that crowd who thought so. I relate to this story, and which is why I chose the name Magdalene, because I've lost my faith many times. I didn't intend to be someone who lost my faith. I was raised in an Episcopal family. We went to church every Sunday. I knew the creeds. I knew all the right answers in Sunday school, but I asked a lot of questions and nobody can answer my questions. Anybody else have this problem? So I was ripe for the picking, so to speak, of God showing me the way, and the most powerful experience I had of coming back to God was with the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And in the first 3 steps, this 3-step breakdown of what happens when you've lost everything, those 3 steps convinced me that God was okay and that God was in my suffering and that God had never left me. The first step, I admitted that I was powerless over alcohol. I was also powerless over a husband that behaved badly. I was also powerless over a convent full of women who were kind of crazy-making, but I loved them anyway. I had no power over anything, but especially I thought I was in control of things, and my losing the idea of God has something to do with trying to have the power myself. The second step is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. A power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. I had to admit that my life was not manageable, that I was insane, in other words. And I was. I was insane with grief. When my marriage died, when the second marriage died, when I left the convent, all 3 times my heart was broken in 2, and I thought there would be no healing for me. I just thought I took all that responsibility. It was my fault the marriage ended. It's too bad. I thought I had a vocation with the sisters. I don't know why it ended. But through these 12 steps, but mostly these 3, I made a decision. That's the 3rd step. We make a decision to turn our life and our will over to the care of God as we understand him. And it was like, kazam! That's the faith that I had in the Episcopal Church, but I didn't have the words for. So as soon as I made that decision to put my life in the hands of God, it snapped together like a Lego set. That I belonged to the Episcopal Church, that I loved our singing, that I had all these people I admired, that sometimes my questions did get answered. And I dedicated myself to learning what I didn't know before. Because once you have a broken heart, it doesn't get put back together quite the same way. There's a newness to your faith. There's some brand new miracle of the fact that you not only become better than the person you were before, you are more, I turned from an extreme introvert to someone standing up here doing sermons in the Order of St. Helena. I never would have done that. Something changed in my life significantly and helped me to be some little increment more of what God had called me to be. So that when I found out about these first-hand stories in our scriptures about those who believe that he rose from the dead, I felt this sinking that I had risen from the dead, but I didn't do it by myself. That my trust in God, who is the God of resurrection, was teaching me how to practice resurrection. I got a lot of practice. Every time I fell apart and gave up, I was created in a new way and set out again to fall and break apart and die again and put back together again. And I thought, okay, I'm getting the hang of this. That means I have to look forward to what? More tragedy. But that's okay, because we're supposed to know that we're not in charge. Who's in charge? God. And Jesus, through the power of God and the Holy Spirit, the whole shebang, rose from the dead. He didn't do it all by himself. but this incredible power of the Holy Spirit, Jesus, God the Father, it creates this alchemy that includes every person in here. That we're all part of that elasticity. You don't have to believe today. Just talk to somebody who does believe. You can admit you have no clue what you believe and take baby steps forward, learning what to do in order